If you're a maintenance supervisor at a manufacturing facility and your machinery isn't working right, Grainger knows you need to understand what's wrong as soon as possible. So when a conveyor motor falters, Grainger offers diagnostic tools like calibration kits and multimeters to help you identify and fix the problem. With Grainger, you can be confident you have everything you need to keep your facility running smoothly. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
What's up, Browns fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Dogs Podcast, coming to you live tonight, just after the trade deadline ended, about 4 hours and 19 minutes ago. The big "we're going to be buyers" trade deadline that was not true. I guess in the Browns' defense, they said we are more likely to be buyers than sellers. They didn't say we're going to 100% be buyers. So.
No, but it is funny that the one thing they did, they made one move and it was a sell.
Yes. Even it was a very low sell for a very low get, but still, I agree. But we're going to cover what did and did not happen at the trade deadline. Obviously, big news this week, Kevin Stefanski giving up play calling to Tommy Rees. We'll talk about that. We'll talk a little bit more Dylan Shedeur starting going forward coming out of the bye. Obviously, the first opponent the Browns play coming out of the bye just went into full-on tank mode, so we can talk about that for a couple minutes. I said somebody in here saw it, said I was fashionably late. It wasn't my fault tonight.
I told him.
Okay,
I told him.
It was the wife, so she's watching. I'm blaming her. But Josh, you said before we got too deep into it, you wanted to mention something about Spotify.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, if you're listening to the audio after this podcast comes out, because we're doing it live, but then the podcast will come out on the audio platforms. There will be no intro music or outro and music and stuff like that right now, because for some reason Spotify is flagging the music that we have all rights and licensing to use and holding off of pulling our episodes off of Spotify. So if you only listen on Spotify, you've missed the last couple episodes because they're not on there. So until we get this figured out, there will be no intro music or anything like that for the show. That way, at least our content can get on Spotify. So if you're listening on Apple, sorry, you guys have to suffer because Spotify is being real stupid right now.
You gotta love when that stuff works out. It's like when some of our stuff gets flagged for copyright, and I'm like, we've been using this song or this whatever for 6 years now. So, but glad we got that out of the way. Technical difficulties, late wives, everything here on the Dogs Podcast tonight. If you want to get thoughts and intros on the show, we got a couple voicemails to get to tonight. Head to thedogspodcast.com, tap leave voicemail on the drop-down menu. If you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. Make sure you tap the notification bell so you don't miss any of the content we're putting out. You can find us on any of the social media platforms. Just search at the Dogs Podcast. You can listen on Apple and Spotify. You just want to hear our intro. And if you want more Dogs content, head to jointhedogs.com, become an official Dog Pack member on the Patreon page, get access to the private Discord, play fantasy football with us, and just talk with Browns fans from all over the world 24/7. It's a good time. Even when the Browns aren't doing great, we're having a good time in the Discord. So that's jointhedogs.com if you want to become an official Dog Pack member. So first thing we want to get to tonight, obviously the trade deadline has come and gone. A couple teams made a couple big splashes. Browns, not one of them. We traded Joe Tryon-Shoyinka. Did I say it right?
Sure. JTS. It doesn't matter anymore. JTS. He's not here.
Yes. To the Chicago, and a 7th-round pick to the Chicago Bears for a 6th-round pick. Some people were kind of dogging on this pick a little bit, and I was just like, This is a nothing pick. It's never a bad thing to have a higher draft pick. And for a guy who's played 31 snaps this season, 6% of all of our defensive snaps, why not get, even if you're getting the equivalent of, a quarter, if we're talking money, it's better to have a quarter than to not have a quarter. So it's kind of a throwaway deal. Helps Chicago bolster their edge rushers a little bit, and we get a 6th-round pick. If Andrew Berry's still here, which I think today kind of says, I think today only further cemented that this regime is safe for next year. And we've seen him do, if we can dog on him on especially some of his offensive draft picks, but he has been good at turning low round draft picks into good players for the Browns via trade. guys like Amari Cooper and Zadarius Smith and guys like that. So AB having an extra 6th-round pick is not a bad thing. So what did you think of the move and then lack thereof the rest of the day?
I think the move is getting dogged on by anybody who's dogging on the move is doing it because they're disappointed we didn't do anything else. The move itself, I thought, was fine. I mean, like you said, we moved up around in the draft to get rid of a guy we weren't using anyway, and he wasn't going to be here next year anyway. So, okay, that move is fine in and of itself. Overall, I was honestly, I don't know about you, we'll get your thoughts. I was kind of surprised. I thought we were going to ship off a couple more of these older veterans that were on their last year of their deal to try to acquire some, whether it's a young, player with a little potential or, a late round draft pick or something for the future, because we've got so many players on expiring contracts and they're older, and I can't imagine we're going to extend all of them. So instead of getting something for them at the end of the year, they're just going to hit free agency, which happens every year to every team. Certain number of guys always hit free agency, no big deal. But there were guys that I thought could have been of value to other teams.
So, like I said, I think the lack of movement for the Browns today only kind of further solidifies the idea that they're going to be back next year. They didn't feel the need to try to make some move to get wins this year that, if we're being honest, would kind of only be detrimental to the Browns' future. So they didn't try to go out and they didn't overpay for a Chris Olave or a Garrett Wilson or something like that. And then another thing that tells me is they didn't ship off guys like Wyatt Teller and David Njoku. To me, that says they have a future here. They know that we don't have the offensive talent to compete right now, but we have some solid pieces, and those pieces, if those pieces are added to with another good offseason, maybe we have something. And so instead of shipping them off and going into total 3-year rebuild, it was no, we're going to keep these core guys like an Njoku and a Teller and add a couple more pieces to them, and I think we'll be much more competitive next year. So to me, the lack of moves kind of they feel safe. They have a plan, and then nothing has happened so far to make them deviate from that plan. At least that's kind of the way I took it.
Well, we've talked a lot about how next year it could be 5. We might need all 5 new linemen. And if you think about it, that's really not a great strategy, because you're going to want an established veteran, at least one guy on that line who know's got the skill and the talent, who's been here, who can be that leader. And I think if they choose to extend Wyatt Teller, which I think they should, that would be the guy to do it with, because I was reading on Twitter, some people making great points. Bitonio's going to retire. Posick, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets flipped and replaced by Luke Whippler at some point down the stretch this season. He won't be back. Conklin, probably not back. And then Jones will be on the roster, but we don't know what we can really depend on as far as starting for DeJuan Jones, because he's always hurt. Get one stalwart guy to keep, and I think Wyatt Teller's that guy. And then obviously David Njoku, the extension should be coming. He's making history, Cleveland Browns history with this franchise over the course of his career. So hopefully he just gets to continue to build on that.
I think there's a couple guys that the Browns kind of see as people who need to retire Browns, Myles Garrett being one of them. And I kind of feel like David Njoku is another one of those guys. And honestly, Wyatt Teller might be one of those guys also. They're just not going to let him get out the door. It would be tough for me to stomach to watching David Njoku playing for somebody else. I would have, especially if he's healthy. Nick Chubb was hard to stomach also, but he's coming off back-to-back debilitating injuries. I understood why they moved off of that. David Njoku, a healthy David Njoku, to just move off of him, that would hurt my soul. He's like a top 5 Cleveland Brown for me in my life. So I'm happy to see that. I think those guys have futures here. I'm with you. I think we're going to need 4 new starting offensive linemen next year. I think Wyatt Teller will be there at right guard, and then 4 new people starting. I think kind of the market today also dictated lack of moves for the Browns, because AB's kind of calling card in these situations is he kind of he'll kind of fleece a team, he'll get Amari Cooper for a 5th, Zadarius Smith for it was a 5th or a 6th. You don't see Andrew Berry outside of the Deshaun thing, obviously, going and giving up big time assets for some of these guys in the trade market, the trade deadline. And look what Sauce Gardner went for today.
I know.
This is a corner who, honestly, I don't watch a ton of Jets games, but just stuff that I've watched and heard. isn't even playing that great this year. And he got the 2 first-round picks plus Mitchell from the Colts. What would they have wanted for Garrett Wilson? You know, if you know what I mean? Like if Sauce Gardner is getting 2 first and a young receiver, Garrett Wilson's what? Minimum 2 first, 3 first, 2 first. And I mean, AB's not going to pay that. And I wouldn't want him to pay that for, you know, like that'd be a big time overpay. They wanted a 3rd-round pick for Breece Hall. He's a running back. As good as I think Breece Hall is, you're going to be lucky to get a 5th.
They wanted a 2nd-round pick for Jermaine Johnson. And I think the Quinnen Williams trade, I mean, it wasn't for 2 first, but I think the overall trade for Quinnen Williams was actually a little bit more shocking to me than what the 2 first from the Colts for Sauce Gardner. The Cowboys gave them a 2nd-round pick in 26, a 1st-round pick in 27, and Mozzie Smith. They basically swapped defensive tackles and gave them a 2nd and a 1st-round pick. I was like, oh, okay. So yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Like the market, the Browns have we've always kind of applauded, even for the stuff that we've been angry with AB about. We've kind of always applauded the Browns for setting the market, not chasing the market, with their signings and extensions of players. This was we weren't going to chase. We weren't giving up 3 first-round picks for somebody. You know, like we just did that. And look what it's done to the franchise. They weren't about to do that again. The Dolphins wanted a 1st-round pick for Waddle. I like Jalen Waddle. He's maybe, I would say at best you're going to get a 2nd from him.
Yeah, I don't see him being worth a 1st. In my opinion,
it's more like a high-end 3rd for me is what I'd be more comfortable with giving up for Waddle. Sure. So I just think the market this year, the couple teams who made splashes, I feel like they gave up a king's ransom. For the Colts, it makes sense. They're 7-2. They think like they're in their window. Why the Cowboys? They're, you know what I mean? Like that. What the Cowboys did today would have been like if the 2-6 Browns went and made multiple moves and give up a bunch of future assets. And you're going, this team's 2-6. They got 12 holes they need to fill. Now they have no. You know what I mean? No picks to do it with. So, I think it was smart by them to not chase. I think the market was too high on some of these players, and then I just think it showed that they know this isn't their last year. They got the rest of the season to work with. They have an off season to work with, and then going into next year. And I do think next year is like that's it. Like there's got to be a significant uptick in performance and wins next year, or honest like by bye week next year it could be the end. So, but I think they know they have until like that point. To execute the plan that they're all trying to do right now, which is get out from under the Deshaun deal, build up the offense now because you have some 1st-round picks and see what you can do first half of next season. At least that's kind of the take I've gotten from everything they've done to this point so far.
Yeah, and I mean, Jimmy Haslam's comments have kind of solidified that. As much as some of us, or some of you out there would like to see this regime gone, I do take my feelings aside about it. I do think they're safe. I do think they're going to be back. I think a lot of these moves do indicate that. I'm telling you, this offseason better be get me premium positions taken care of. Work on the quarterback, work on left tackle, get some freaking wide receivers, and you better start working on cornerback too, because Denzel Ward is great, but he's getting older. You know, Tyson Campbell looks like we might have a good 2nd corner there, but we have no idea what the future for Martin Emerson holds, and we are thin after that. So no more of this defensive tackle crap, like, you know, get the premium positions taken care of. That's what I'm looking for this offseason.
100%. So much of the Browns' future, AB, Kevin, so much of their future with the Browns hinges on free agency in the draft this coming offseason. It's going to be make or break. I think if they knock those out of the park, we see them go into the future and they'll be here for the foreseeable future. If they squander those picks and they miss on them and they don't sign some of these premium positions, I think they'll be gone by the bye week. I think there's so depending on where the bye week is, if they have a week 4 bye week, no, but I could see them being gone by the 2nd Steelers game if we get pounded because we can't score points still, you know? Yeah. So I think they know they have a year to work with. And that's kind of the way they operated today. So that's basically the trade deadline for the Browns. Pretty quiet. I know, like, I was hopeful that maybe we'd make a move, but just seeing based on the way people are like, why are we going to get a receiver? Teams aren't just giving those guys away. Look how hard it is for the Browns to get to find one. Hey, can we have Puka Nacua, please? We really need him. Can we have Garrett Wilson? He played at Ohio State. It'd be really cool if you guys let him come play here. That's just not the way it works.
Like you said, Garrett Wilson, we easily probably could have gone and traded for Garrett Wilson. The Jets are in full fire sale mode. They're tanking like the way, if you're going to tank, this is how you tank. You easily could have gone and get Garrett Wilson, but it would have cost you, like you said, multiple first-round picks probably. And then you'd have people upset that we spent the first-round picks to go get one receiver.
Yep. What are you going to, why would you spend 3 first-round picks on Garrett Wilson when you don't have a line? Who's going to throw to him? That's what we'd be saying right now.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? There's just no pleasing anybody. And so I think if you can just like take your heart out of it and kind of just like take a step back and just see the way it was going, they honestly probably did the right thing by not overreaching and overpaying for some of these people.
No, I was talking to some people in the chat real quick. There were some players that I was, they were rumored to be available in the trade market, and I was kind of hoping AB would swing one of those, trade a 6th-round pick or a 5th-round pick and go get like a Jackson Powers Johnson, the center from Las Vegas, who's, kind of been at odds with the team there. And that's a player I liked coming out of Oregon a couple of years ago. I was like, maybe we could get a young player like that to help bolster this line. But yeah, we didn't do any of those moves. So, I mean, maybe they were just asking too much as well or whatever. Who knows?
I obviously I want a receiver or 5. But Jacoby Myers was a guy like you'd heard was talking, and that kind of had like, I think it was like a 4th and a 6th for him to go to Jacksonville. I guess my biggest pushback on why I can see why they wouldn't go get a guy like Jacoby Myers, even though he'd be an upgrade he'd be the best number 2 for us. Or honestly, because he can catch, maybe he'd be our number 1. But is your team going anywhere if Jacoby Myers is your number 1? Yeah, you're not doing anything. You know what I mean?
Well,
like he's
on the last year of his deal too, so you'd have to extend him, or else it's just a half-year rental for a 2-6 team. It's like that doesn't make sense either. So
yes, so
now you're shelling out money and cap space.
It just didn't make any sense for us unless some team was going to let us fleece them. But unfortunately, the Cowboys are out of wide receivers that they wanted to give away. So I just think they played it smart. They have a plan. It seems like they have a plan, and they're kind of sticking to it right now. I mean, it kind of sucks for us because we were hoping to maybe have something worth watching the second half of the year. I still stand by, especially with what the Jets just did. I still think the Browns will win 2 of their next 3. And if they do, that means they've won 3 of their last 5. We're on the up and up. So before we move on to Tommy Rees and Kevin, I do think with what the Jets did today, like you said, they're in full-on tank mode. There's a total difference. I think they're in tank mode. The Browns are in, we're not tanking, but we're just not necessarily trying that hard to win. I think there's a difference. I think there's like hey, this is your team. We have some pieces. Go out there, try your hardest, win. And then there's the Jets, and it was, okay, we're not even going to give you pieces. We're not going to give you anything. And I think you're going to see that locker room, like, they're not going to try. I would be shocked if we see like any kind of, if they win another game. Like, they're done. They're going to be mentally checked out, so I think going into this Jets game, this is basically a must win for the Browns. You can't lose to the Jets team that is actively tanking and just got rid of huge key pieces for them. Can't lose this game. This is a must-win game for the Cleveland Browns. As must-win as I've ever seen a 2-6 football team have. This is it.
Yeah, and we'll do the preview show in the Discord live on Thursday at 5. But yeah, man, we'll talk about it then if the Browns lose to the Jets this weekend. Oh man, next week is going to be the worst week we've ever had to
sign
endure.
out of all social media. I won't even be able to do it. It'll be the sky is falling, which I won't totally there's games I'm judging the Browns on this year. This is one of them.
Yes.
The Jets, the Titans.
I was judging them on the Dolphins. Like, if you can't come out here and beat the Dolphins at home, come on.
Like, I know I've got the bar set extremely low, but we're at one of those bar games, and this is where this is what I'm watching. You can't lay an egg this week.
The Jets don't have a bar.
No, if you lay an egg this week, this is where you're going to have even like the most patient people, me, being like, what the F, So don't lose me. I'm still here. Don't lose me.
This episode is sponsored by Southern New Hampshire University. Browns fans, do you ever feel stuck in your current job? Like if you just had a different degree or some more education in a certain area, you could do something you really want to do. Well, Southern New Hampshire University has the answers for you. Head over to snhu.edu/bark to learn how you can get started on your new career today. SNHU is one of the largest online accredited universities in the United States, and it's radically affordable. Their online tuition rates are some of the lowest in the nation. So seriously, what are you waiting for? Head over to snhu.edu/bark to learn how you can get started on your degree for your new career, 100% online and 100% on your time. snhu.edu/bark. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. Browns fans, if you're like me, the stresses in life only increase the older you get. Your family, your job, your bank account, just a few things that drive the cycle of stress every day. And if you have people constantly depending on you, it can put a heavy weight on your mental health. What if I fail? What if I'm not good enough? Why does no one appreciate everything I'm trying to do for them? If these thoughts have ever darkened your day, one, you're not alone, and two, I highly recommend talking to someone, and that's where BetterHelp could be the right resource for you. Head to BetterHelp, HELP.com/dogs, DAWGS for 10% off your first month of talk therapy. Just fill out a simple questionnaire and BetterHelp will match you with the best therapist for your needs. And if it's not the right fit, you can switch therapists at any time for no extra cost. BetterHelp is 100% online. You can talk with your therapist on the phone, via face chat, or even through text message. Your therapist will listen, ask questions, and help you see things from new perspectives. So what are you waiting for? Take the first step to making positive improvements in your life. Head to BetterHelp.com/dogs now for 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/dogs for 10% off your first month.
So let's kind of shift gears now. We're kind of talking about the other big news for the Browns. Kevin Stefanski giving up play calling to Tommy Rees. Second year in a row, he's giving up play calling. What do you make of it? Do we just want to go straight to a voicemail and then kind of talk about it? How do you want to play it out here?
Yeah, let's just play a voicemail real quick. This one's from Kenny.
Guys, it is Kenny Mack, and it looks like one of the biggest trades that we're going to get is Kevin Stefanski is going to trade off his play calls to Tommy Rees. So how is that going to affect the Browns? Well, I took a look back, and, with Tommy Rees, if you hear a lot of his criticism, I'll be honest with you, his days at Notre Dame, he sounds like Kevin Stefanski, just kind of conservative. You're 2nd and 9. He's going to call a run play again, and I'm not too sure much is going to change. Now, if there is anything to hang your hat on with this move, my understanding is that when he moved to Alabama, he just changed up his play calls a little bit. So while he was overly cautious at Notre Dame and, used a lot of disadvantaged situations and ran, he did kind of change it up at Alabama. It was a more of a pro style creative offense with motion, had the RPO thing going as well. So hopefully he takes advantage of QB runs, bootlegs. And now I'm hearing that he's going to, open the play action game up a little bit more and take some selective deep shots. Now, does this mean because he's heavily tight end and running back centric, that more touches for Raheem? I don't know, guys. Tell me what you think. Let's go Brownies. Hoo-hoo.
So I can kind of tell you what I thought, like when I first heard it, is I don't think necessarily who's calling the plays is like it matters. But it's not gonna, like, most of the time switching your play caller isn't gonna, like, just totally revolution. You're not gonna go from historically the worst offense in the world to all of a sudden we're lighting the world on fire. Especially, it's still the same playbook. It's still the same way below average offensive players. It's still Dylan Gabriel. It's still a bad receiver core. What I do think, though, when I say I thought back to our interview with the kicker in the UFL.
Oh, Matt McCrane.
And I think it was when we were interviewing him and we were asking about play calls. At least I think it was when we were interviewing him. And I was asking, why are play calls in the NFL so long? Why do you have to tell every single position group what to do when, like every other level, you can just say, a word, and that word tells all these people what to do. And what I thought was interesting when he said that was a lot of times offensive coaches, they're not just calling like a play. They're calling like bits and pieces from 5 different plays. Like they thought of something off the top of their head because they saw something on the field. Somebody radioed down and said they saw something. And he's like, okay, I'm going to take a piece of this play and a piece of this play and maybe a motion from this play and then, a route combination from this play. And I'm going to call them all together into a play. And that's why the calls in the NFL can be so long, because they're not just necessarily one play isn't just like these 11 guys do something. He's calling 5 different plays munched into one. And then I thought to myself, well, maybe that's something Tommy Rees can help with. He's picking from the same playbook, but maybe he can take these ingredients and he mix them up and makes them something a little bit different. Maybe he incorporates pre-snap motion a little bit more. Maybe he calls a play out of a different formation because he sees something differently than Kevin does. And then I thought, well, I'm still not expecting us to light the world on fire, but maybe it is spruced up a little bit. Maybe we can take advantage of a couple matchups or a couple alignments and some pre-snap motions and be a little bit more explosive, maybe get to 20 points here and there. So as far as like, we're not going to go from worst to first, but I am looking to see if he can like just spruce up some of that stuff. Like I'm saying, like, can he hodgepodge some plays together, identify some weaknesses in the defense, call some plays on the fly that kind of take advantage of our strengths, take advantage of the defense's weaknesses, and kind of see if it looks any different. So that was kind of like my initial thought. Like at first I was like, the play caller doesn't matter. Then I thought back to that interview and I was like, well, maybe he can do something.
Well, and what I'll be watching for on Sunday, specifically from Tommy, is does he call anything to set up something later in the game? I was talking to Jake Burns on the podcast last week about that, and he said that that's one of the deficiencies in Kevin's offense right now is he doesn't set anything up for later in the game. And we talked specifically about that end-around jet sweep to Malachi Corley on the first drive, and he ripped off like a 31-yard run, and it was like, okay, awesome. We never came back to that look. We never came back to run a fake off of that or a play action or just give it to him again to see what happens or anything else. There was no building on any of those type of plays. So that's something I want to see if Tommy Rees is able to do. Because if you remember, Nick Saban was saying how he's the up and coming coach. He's a guy to keep an eye on. He couldn't speak more highly of Tommy Rees. So after he left Alabama to come into the NFL. So I'm hoping to see some of that juice from what Tommy Rees can do as a play caller. And like you said, there is part of me that's like, okay, temper those expectations because it is the same. Maybe you're talking about like ingredients from the playbook. It's the same ingredients on the field as far as you got the same players, again, same quarterback, all this stuff. So I don't expect anything crazy, but it would be nice to see an improvement. Like you said, maybe our offense can hit 20. Can we please just hit 20 points, please, on offense?
So I was thinking a little bit about this was, even though I've been a defender of Kevin and his scheme, I've also the last 2 seasons been a guy who's been saying, like, I want to see us spruce it up. I was all for going and getting an offensive coordinator last year. I did not want it to be Ken Dorsey, but I was all for bringing, you know what I mean? I was all for getting a fresh offensive mind in there. Do I think Kevin's scheme is like the best scheme in the world? I don't. But do I think it's better than what it's been last year and this year? I 100% do. I think it's a combination of you have a scheme that could be considered stale, and then you have it being run by players who are not good. And then that's a combination, that's a recipe for disaster. That's how you get last place. Do I think now with these players being this bad, but if we can take somebody to spruce it up, like you said, and then maybe we're still not great, but we're not historically bad anymore, is kind of like what I'm looking for. Can we take the jump from historically bad to, well, they're definitely still not the strength of the team, but maybe the defense can keep us in games and we can score 20 points once. That's kind of like, can we take that leap? And then what do you think? I've heard people say, if the offense looks great now or better, Kevin's worthless, and if it looks the same, Kevin's still worthless. He's like in a lose-lose situation here. What are your thoughts in terms of like, if the offense does look better, what does it say about Kevin and all that kind of stuff?
Well, before I answer that, I want to remind everybody, I went back and we talked about this the other day, but I looked at the stats last year when Kevin handed play calling over to Ken Dorsey. So there were 7 games with Kevin calling the plays, and then the rest of the season, Ken Dorsey called the plays. Almost nothing changed. Okay. We had the same amount of, well, actually, we went down in points per game scored a little bit. It was like 15-14, which we sucked last year. The only thing that ended up going up were I think it was the total yards per game, but that's only because Ken Dorsey got Jameis Winston. He had those games. He had the 504-yard output out in Denver and all that kind of stuff. None of that happened when Kevin was calling the plays. But other than that, like, I forget what the other stat was, but I know it was points per game and all that stuff. Like, nothing changed. It stayed. This was the record. Record was basically exactly the same. We lost just the same amount of games. Nothing changed. So if we make this switch now again for the second year in a row, and this time it's different, and Tommy Rees takes over play calling, and all of a sudden the offense, I'm talking like noticeably different. Like, it feels like we're watching a different team than we watched the first half of the season. For me, that would be kind of an indictment on Kevin, that one guy can step in here and make that big of a difference to the offense, that you are the one that, like, you're the offensive guy. This is your system. This is your program. You brought it in here. You're supposed to be the offensive head coach, which, by the way, how do you feel about him having to give it up 2 years in a row? Because I can't, off the top of my head, and maybe the chat can help us out, I can't think of another offensive head coach who's had to give up play calling 2 years in a row.
It doesn't matter to me. Like,
well, I know, but it matters to some people.
It just, to me, it's, if Tommy comes in and then the offense is noticeably different, good job on Kevin for recognizing that Tommy was ready to call plays and not being too proud and being like, okay, go ahead. And now we're better. Like, he could just go down with the sinking ship. You know, he could be like, nope, I'm the play caller. It doesn't matter. I'm doing this, and I'll go out on my sword. And if I get fired doing this, that's what I'm going to do. Or he can say, it's not working. Let's see if we can mix it up. And I hired this guy, so I obviously should believe in him. And now I'm passing him the torch. He calls plays. We're better. Okay, good. That's a good decision by a head coach. Like, Kevin's not an offensive head coach. He's just a head coach. So he hired this guy. He groomed him. He has him ready, passes him the torch. He does good. That's a good decision by a head coach. It means he's ready. I don't know. I don't think it's an indictment. If the offense all of a sudden looks better, I'm not going to go fire Kevin. The offense looks better. Now Kevin can just be a head coach.
Well, I mean, we'll see what the chat thinks, because I think you can look at it both ways for sure. But
why
we'll
would
see.
you, if the offense looks better, why would you then fire the head coach?
Well, the thing is, and this is where people are going to argue about it, Kevin's supposed to be an offensive genius. That's what we hear. He's not. I mean, if somebody else comes in, Pat McAfee just called him an offensive genius like 2 weeks ago on the show.
He's probably wasted or on crack. No, Kevin was known as having an offense that was easy for quarterbacks to play in, like guys like Kirk Cousins and Baker Mayfield. Nobody called him a genius.
Yeah. Okay. People have definitely used that terminology for Kevin. 100%.
I hear it more in terms of when people are being sarcastic.
Well, either way, you guys let us know what you think. I mean, I'm not going to sit here. I don't want to argue tonight about, because I still don't think the offense is going to look good. I don't think it matters,
it just doesn't make sense to me. If the guy gives up, why would you fire him?
Dude, you know that we're on different pages anyway. Like, I'm on the fire him, even if it looks good or bad. Like, I don't care what it looks like. I'm done with him. But that's where I'm at. So for me, if it looks better with Tommy Rees, that's just more fuel in my fire saying, yeah, get rid of him.
So would you fire Kevin then fire Tommy Rees, the guy who has the offense looking better? Or are you going to give Tommy Rees a head coaching job?
Hey, maybe if it looks significantly better.
We didn't learn our difference from Freddie Kitchens.
Oh, dude, I don't think that's mean to Tommy Rees.
It's the exact same situation. Tight end coach to offensive coordinator, head coach. It's literally the same trajectory if you do that. Literally,
he wasn't hired as the offensive coordinator going into the season, though. He was the interim. It was different.
So we skipped 6 months. It would be literally the exact same trajectory.
I'm just saying,
unqualified tight ends coach to offensive coordinator to head coach, all within a year. Like, that's just history repeating itself.
History repeating itself is us doing the same crap over and over with Kevin. We sucked last year. We sucked this year. We're going to suck again next year.
We didn't suck the year before.
We did until Joe Flacco got here.
You mean we got a better player and we started playing better? That's weird.
Wow. We took a last resort.
And we got wins.
I know. We got lucky.
Okay. Whatever. Move on.
Please.
I've never heard of.
We'll never
anytime a
agree on
coach,
Kevin.
anytime a coach wins, it's lucky. But if we lose, it's because he's bad.
Let's move on because
It's always the same thing.
We'll never agree on Kevin.
Well, we did for 5 years.
I know, but not anymore.
There's hundreds of hours of video of you agreeing with me.
I know, and now I am disagreeing with all my previous takes because I don't want him anymore.
Okay. Good. Play the next voicemail.
I don't think it's going to help.
Hey, what's up? My name is Zach. I'm a new listener to the podcast. I listen to it every day on my way to work. Loving it so far. Just kind of want to give my 2 cents on the whole coaching staff thing. I know it was talked about in the last podcast, but it's also a common theme. As far as Stefanski goes, when the season started, I was a big supporter of him. I was like, why would we ever get rid of the 2-time coach of the year? He's done amazing things for us. As the season goes on, I know, before the year, we weren't expecting to win a whole lot, but, it's just been bad. I'm still in support of keeping him on a little bit longer. I don't know how much longer that'll last. And then in terms of Schwartz, obviously, he's been great so far. And I also want to talk about Rees. I actually have a buddy that played at Notre Dame under him for a couple years, and he loved the guy. And it sounds like when he first came to the Browns, he told me that we're in for an offensive reboot. So I'm willing to give him some more time too, maybe give him more control if Stefanski does leave. But yeah, I'd like to see what Rees can do because my buddy was high on him. And then to answer your question on if I was a coach or an owner to hire Stefanski, I think I would as an OC because, like you said, some guys are good at just being a coordinator, not a head coach. So I think maybe that's Stefanski's role in the NFL. But yeah, just want to give my 2 cents on that.
First of all,
we'll get the rest of this.
Are we not sure that wasn't Jake Burns in disguise? His voice sounded just like Jake Burns.
That did sound a little bit like Jake.
I was like, is this guy undercover?
I didn't even think about that until you said it. And then it was like, now I can't unhear it.
It's like if you had a video, you'd be wearing the mustache with the nose and the glasses. This is fake Burns. Here's what I find funny. What he said is, would he hire? Everybody's bashing on Kevin for his offense, but then in the same breath, they'll always say he's an offensive coordinator, not a head coach. But they bash on his offense. That doesn't make any sense to me.
No, me either, because I wouldn't hire him as an OC either. That's where I'm different than those opinions. But I do think that it's going to be fun. At least it gives us something else to watch for the rest of the season with Tommy Rees calling plays. Just another person on the staff to evaluate. Is there a future for Tommy Rees with the Browns or just in the NFL? You know, these offensive coordinators come out of nowhere and end up getting head coaching interviews and things. It might not be next year, but you know, if Tommy Rees makes a name for himself, they're always in need. There's always coaching positions open. This episode is sponsored by ISSA. Browns fans, if you're into health and fitness, have you ever wondered how you could maybe turn those hobbies and your passion into an actual career? If that sounds interesting to you, then ISSA has the opportunity you've been looking for. ISSA is the International Sports Science Association, and they can help you become a certified personal trainer in as little as 3 months. And right now you can get $100 off your certification when you sign up through our link, joinissa.com/dogs, DAWGS. Now, certifications are 100% online, self-study, and self-paced. You can study anywhere from your phone, tablet, or computer. And the final exam is open note, open book, aka piece of cake. Except you fitness nuts probably don't eat a ton of cake, so let's just call it a piece of delicious protein bar. And ISSA has the #1 job guarantee in the industry. If you get certified and sign up to be a certified trainer with ISSA, you have a job guarantee or your money back. ISSA has over 10,000 gym partners that have over 73,000 open jobs for trainers right now. And you don't need a 4-year degree or a 2-year degree. You just need your certification to qualify for these jobs. So what are you waiting for? With certification this simple, there's no excuse not to pursue your passion and become a certified personal trainer today. Get $100 off your certification at joinissa.com/dogs. You've wanted to make a change long enough. Now it's time to do something about it. That's joinissa.com/dogs for $100 off your personal trainer certification.
I wish the switch was coming with a different quarterback.
Well, let's talk about it, because what is going on with Shedeur Sanders, man?
This is the time where, like, I was pounding the table to play Shedeur out of the bye, and we can't because he has some back injury. And I just don't understand.
We weren't going to anyway, but you're right. Now this makes it.
But now you can't, like, we can't even be mad at him, you know, because it's like you can't play the guy who's not practicing. You can't play the guy who's not healthy enough to even be active on game days. It's just, I'm curious, how did he get hurt? Like, I know he's not getting first team reps or anything, but he's still doing stuff in practice. And I know he's putting a lot of extra work in, staying late. So he's doing stuff. I get that, but I don't understand how there's this guy in college, and I watched a decent amount of his games when he was at Colorado because they were on TV all the time. And I watched this dude just get pummeled some games and just pop right up and make throws. And I was like, that was one thing I liked about him. I watched this guy just take shots in the face. Ew. While what and then stand up and deliver the football. I walked myself right into that.
Yeah,
right
no,
there.
move on, hurry, go.
Yeah. And then now he's dealing with a second injury in Cleveland where it's like, how did this happen? You know, like, you're not even playing in games. You're not really doing much contact. You're a quarterback. I don't understand what's going on.
I don't either, man. And, you know, I don't know how many people
in college, somebody said. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either. I mean, so I don't know how many people saw it or if you guys missed it, but Mary Kay Cabot wrote, or actually, no, it was in the press conference with Kevin on Monday, but she said how Shedeur told somebody in the media in the locker room after or before the game, you know, against the Patriots, that it was not his decision to be inactive that day. I don't know if it was just in passing or what, but either way, he expressed that it wasn't his call not to be active. So I don't know, man. I'm starting to see I've been doing it for a couple weeks now, I think, but I'm starting to see other Cleveland media people on Twitter and stuff start to question a little bit, like, what's going on? I forget the guy's name, but he said, it was from 92.3 The Fan today, said just something smells fishy. Like, it just something's not making sense with this whole situation. I mean, could it legitimately be back tightness that's lasted for almost 2 weeks now? I guess. I don't know. It's just weird. We get no clarification on it. The coaching staff has been very low on him. Just, you know, the only thing they'll say to the media is, well, he's continuing to work and develop, and we like his progress or whatever. But they don't light up about him. They've never lit up about him. They've never really seemed happy to have him, in my opinion. I don't know, man. It's weird. It's no wonder there's like conspiracy theories from everybody out there about what's going on, because they're just feeding into it. I mean, they're not giving us anything to work with.
I just don't understand how he could be getting hurt. Like, if his back is tight, like, I've had my back go out before and it still hurts sometimes, but I'm 36 and morbidly obese. He's in the prime of his life and a professional athlete, you know, like, he shouldn't be dealing with these things. Whenever he says it wasn't his decision to be inactive for that game, that's just what I expect a competitor to say, especially a guy who's wants to get on the field and try to become the starting quarterback. His leg could be snapped in half and he'd say, I'm good. No, I'm good to go, coach. You can put me in. I'll just play with a crutch on my other leg, you know, a peg leg. So that's not totally surprising for me to hear the guy say it wasn't his decision to be inactive. Like, of course not. He's trying to get on the field as much as he can. But it's just disheartening because this is just now another week of Dylan Gabriel. And I'm just, we've we're beating a dead horse. We're all tired of watching him. Maybe with Tommy Rees, we'll call some more shots. But another issue I have is there's been shots for him to take with Kevin calling the plays. That's another reason why, like, I understand, like, the scheme could be spruced up, but how many plays every single week do we watch it and we go, this guy was wide open. This guy was, if we just block this guy, that's a 60-yard touchdown run. Why didn't he look over here? If he looks over here, this dude's wide open. So, like, it's hard for me to be like, the scheme is the worst scheme that's ever been schemed, when I can pick out 10 touchdowns every game that were wide open if our player just threw it to this person. And it's like, can you not see it because he has to stand on his tippy toes when he orders a drink at the bar? I just, but now it's at the point where, like, you're not going to play Zappy over Dylan Gabriel if Dylan Gabriel's healthy, because the goal isn't to win games. The goal is to see if Dylan Gabriel can play. And if Shedeur's not healthy enough to even practice, they've already said they don't want to put him in mid-week, like mid-game if they don't have to, because they want him to get a week of preparation and a game plan for him. So if you can't even practice, like they're now their hands are tied. Now they can't even try to get him ready and put him in the game. So it sucks, because every week that we had to play Dylan Gabriel is a week taking away from Shedeur, and I think his ceiling is 1,000,000 times higher.
There's only one of those two quarterbacks that even has any potential whatsoever to be the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns in 2026 and potentially help us avoid using yet another draft pick on a quarterback. We've used so many draft picks on quarterbacks in the last few years. It's ridiculous. And that's Shedeur Sanders. It's not Dylan Gabriel. And I feel like there's some people in the Cleveland media that have been like, okay, we're done with Dylan. It's time to move on. And now they're starting to back it up. Like, well, maybe he needs a couple more games or whatever. He doesn't need any more games. I don't need any more games to see. Like, it's not going to happen. They can push it on us as much as they want. Darryl Reuter's been on this since training camp, saying they're going to shove him down our throats. I just know they're going to shove him down our throats until we're sick of it. That's exactly what's happened.
I'm sick of it. I'm gagging. Yeah. King
boy.
David says, Blake, you're the first person I've heard speak on missed throws. It's always how the offense needs to be better. Thank you, King David Cartel. All I ever get in the comments is hate, so I appreciate the little bit of love down there. That's what I'm saying. I watched the all-22, and I'm like, well, this was a touchdown. This would have been a touchdown. This was a touchdown. We left 40 freaking points on the board, and we're talking about how bad the offense is. The offense, there's guys wide open. The coach can't go out and throw it to him, block it for him, run it to him. The guy's wide open. What are we doing?
I forget which game. Was it the Miami game where we had, or I can't remember. We had Jerome Ford, I believe it was, wide open on the wheel route in the first drive, I think it was.
Was that Miami or was that the Patriots?
No, it was Miami. It was Miami because he forced the throw to Jerry Jeudy when Jerry Jeudy was already falling on the ground. And there were two defenders there, and he forced the throw to Jeudy, and it's like, what are you doing? Jeudy was in the process of falling down before Gabriel let go of the ball. Like, you didn't have to throw that. And then there was Quinshon Judkins, I think the next quarter, was wide open again on another running back wheel route. And there was a defender coming over, but, I mean, once you get the ball to Jud, he probably makes that guy miss or just barrels him into the end zone with him. Like, that was 2 touchdowns, that game that Dylan missed.
Yeah, he reminds me of when I used to coach middle school football, and we would just basically be like, we would call the play and be like, okay, so who are you going to, like before the play, it was like, this guy should be open on this play. And then that's who the middle school quarterback would throw it to. And he didn't make a read. He just threw it to the guy that we told him should be open on this play. And that's kind of like when I see Dylan Gabriel just throwing to a guy who has fallen on the ground when there's a guy wide open running a wheel route down the sideline, I'm like, he predetermined that throw. He wasn't reading anything, because if he was reading anything, he would know that the guy who was supposed to be covering Jerome Ford is laying on the ground next to Jerry Jeudy. And he would have thrown a touchdown pass, or he would at least thrown it as hard as he can and thrown it out of bounds because he can't throw it 30 yards. So, but he would have at least thrown it in the right direction. So I don't understand. Like, that's the kind of thing I just can't get over.
Well, and I mean, you said, what was it, after the Patriots game, I think that, you know, the way you would start to sour on the coaching staff is if they continue to roll Dylan out there and he continues to play this poorly.
And now I can't. Well,
it just sucks because
healthy.
This is the guy. This is who they picked. Like, they said, nope, he's better than Joe Flacco. This is the guy we wanted in the 3rd round. I mean, he's taken first team reps all summer. Like, this is the guy. And then he goes on the field and we're all going, this is who you thought was the guy? Really?
It's like black eye on what is otherwise a great draft is to take this guy in the 3rd round.
Yeah, the draft, I was talking with Angel Ortiz from the Bearded Brown show on Saturday about that. Like, you know, Mason Graham, I'm holding out on him until I see the season play out and how he develops, because, you know, I watched some of the All-22 from the Patriots game, and he was getting blocked every play. Like, he wasn't doing anything. So rookie in a tough spot, in a difficult position. I get it. But, then you've got Judkins looks like the franchise running back of the future. Harold Fannon's the only free guy on offense who can do anything. He's leading the team in everything. But we took 2 running backs. Dylan Sampson, he's a nothing. I don't know if they don't know how to use him, I don't think. And then we essentially wasted 2 picks on quarterbacks, late round quarterbacks.
Yeah, but I'm not mad at them I wanted them to take 2 quarterbacks anyways.
We wanted them to take 2 quarterbacks when they took a high draft pick guy and then another guy. But to take 2 lower guys and I know one of them still Shedeur Sanders. I get that. But the philosophy, especially if you're not going to show any sense of urgency to get him in there to see what he can do. The thing is, I know people don't want to rush him on the field, but if you're thinking about using one of the first round picks on a quarterback next year, we need to know. We need to know for sure that this guy cannot be the answer. Because I'm telling you right now, they go and draft a first round quarterback next year because they didn't play Shedeur enough this year, and he ends up going to another team within the next 3-4 years and starts and ends up being a very good quarterback for somebody else. You'll never hear the end of it. Ever. You think Baker Mayfield balling out in Tampa Bay is bad? Oh, just wait until Shedeur Sanders goes somewhere else and balls out. It'll be terrible.
And it's and now just the back needs to get healthy. It's one of those things where it's just I'm mad that we're still seeing Dylan Gabriel, but they can't even put Shedeur in because he's not healthy enough to play right now.
I don't get it. It's been what, 10, 11 days now. You
would think he stayed in Cleveland to get treatment, get a shot, get some bat work done. I don't know, unless he's having complications from whatever the back injury he had in college I didn't know about. Let's find a way to get him on the field because we need to know. When was the
back fracture? Because it obviously didn't hinder him the last 2 seasons in college, right? I mean,
I don't know if it was early in his career at Jackson State or what.
I don't know.
So let's get him on the field somehow. Let's get him on the field, please, for the love of God. Figure it out.
Now, and then I guess that goes to the last thing. I wasn't planning on talking about it, but Mary Kay's the one pushing it too. Deshaun Watson getting healthy. They said they're not going to, activate him or whatever is a 20-day window this week, but he's eligible. He's ready. Do you think he takes a snap before Shedeur Sanders?
Let me see it. First thing, he says he went to see his dad. When I said he stayed in Cleveland, he did go to see his dad, but he stayed in Cleveland. I think he was gone for a day. He stayed in Cleveland. He talked about that, about staying in Cleveland and getting treatment and stuff like that. So leaving for 1 day on his bye week is fine. But I don't think Deshaun Watson ever takes a snap in brown and
I don't either, but it's weird
because I don't know. It's that thing where I just think they can't. I just do not think you can put him on the field. It will be.
I agree.
Because if you put him on the field and he plays well, people start to change their tune. But chances are you put him on the field and he's going to throw one in the dirt 6 feet in front of the receiver. And the first time he does that, it will be Bottlegate. It'll be so ugly in that stadium. If Deshaun starts a game, it better be on the road.
Yes.
You can't start him at home. Because if he throws a pick, if he throws a pass in the dirt, like we saw him do countless times, just chucking the ball in the dirt, there will be garbage on the field if you put him in there. So I just don't think they can't be that blind to it. This regime is pretty good at just tuning out anything outside of their building, and they just don't really give a shit about any of the noise. That's got to be something that is too much to tune out. They have to know how that would play.
I hope so. I know Justin, I wish he was on here tonight because he has been Mr. very apprehensive about Deshaun Watson, saying, guys, I got this bad feeling we're going to see him at some point this year. The second half of this Brown season, if we thought the first half was filled with drama and discourse and all this kind of stuff, I think the second half could be even more interesting, especially like you said earlier in the show, with the schedule coming up. The schedule coming up is way different than the first half of the season. There are, compared to what we did in the first half, we're easy games coming up. I mean, you got the Jets, the Raiders, which I thought might be an easy game, but then they just played the Jags real differently than I expected. And then the Titans, I don't know. There's there's some games that I think we should win, and if we don't win, it could get ugly fast.
I would pick right now. My expectations. What I would be upset if the Browns lost to the Jets, the Raiders, the Titans, and quite honestly the Bengals in the last week. Those are the 4 games where if we lose those games, I would be upset with the Browns. The other games, if we can steal one or be competitive in them, like that's great, cool. Like this Ravens game, I'd like to think we can be competitive, but
I think they're out for blood.
So because they got to know, like, they can't lose any more games essentially.
Nope.
So, but we'll see what happens there. Like I said, those are the 4 games where I'm going. I expect the Browns to be in those games and to win those games. The other games, they're throwaways. I'm not expecting much out of the Browns. Honestly, if we lose by 3 touchdowns, I'll probably win some bets. So, but if we finish this season with 6 wins, winning 4 of our last 7 or 4 of our last 8, like, and then we have another good offseason and draft coming into next season, I'll feel slightly optimistic about where we're headed. So, like I've said many times, at this point, I thought we were going to be 0-8. We've won infinitely more games than I thought we would by this point. So I'm cautiously optimistic for the second half of the season to exceed my expectations, because I honestly thought there's a chance we'd go 0-17. So if we end up with 6 wins, it's a lot more games that's a lot more wins than I expected.
It would be. I need to see something from this offense, man. Like, because I think it's 13 straight games now that the offense itself has not generated more than 17 points. That's like, you cannot rely on your defense to go out there and score you 14 points every week. It's just not going to happen. That's unrealistic. Your offense has got to be able to get the ball downfield and then score. So hopefully this change with Tommy Rees can get us a little bit more of that.
Hopefully in 4 of those games, because I'm not expecting much in those other ones.
Well, the thing is, like, okay, I know we're going to wrap it up, but I mean, the Ravens still, I mean, I know, like I said, they're going to be, I think they're going to be coming in here saying there's no way we're letting the Browns beat us and cause us another loss. But their defense doesn't make their defense any better. And then, like you said, the Bengals at the end of the season, especially if Joe Flacco's still starting for them, very interesting game.
I feel we would win that game. We would sack Joe.
It's on the road
many times. This is true, but we just they live off their receivers. I mean, we shut Joe Burrow down all the time.
I know.
We shut Joe Flacco down. So
I don't know, man. Remember that Jets game? That was Joe Woods, though.
Yes, it's a completely different animal now. But all right, we're gonna wrap this thing up. Let us know what you guys thought of the Browns bye week / trade deadline. Probably not much in those terms. Let us know what you think of the Tommy Rees calling the plays. What you guys are expecting for the second half of the season. Predicting 4-4 right now for the second half of the season for the Browns. So that's my prediction. I'm pulling for a win against the tanking Jets this Sunday. So I can't wait to talk about that one with you guys Sunday night. Make sure you guys tune in Thursday, or will it come out Thursday night or Friday? The preview for the Jets game, the Dogpack Discord preview show. So make sure you guys check that out when we preview the Jets with some Dogpack members. If you ever watch that and you think it'd be cool to get your thoughts on the show like that, join thedogs.com, become a Dogpack member, jump in, be a part of those episodes. It's a lot of fun. So
for sure.
Again, we appreciate you guys being here with us live late on a Tuesday night, and we'll see you guys on Thursday.
This episode is sponsored by Butcher Box for Pets. Browns fans, we love our fellow dogs, our Dog Pack members, and the Dog Pound faithful, but let's not kid ourselves. The most important dogs in our lives are, well, our dogs. Your furry friends aren't just pets, they're part of the family. But the question is, what are you actually feeding them? Head to butcherbox4pets.com/products to see all the options for your dogs, including fresh and dry foods, treats, meal toppers, and even toys for your dog. If you're not sure what your dog will like best, try the Premium Nutrition Adult Starter Pack pack, and they even have a vacation bundle to take care of your four-legged friends while you're on vacation this summer. And right now you can get 20% off your order with promo code DAWGS, DAWGS, when you check out. At ButcherBox, they believe in real ingredients. Their pet foods have been developed and certified by vet nutritionists to contain zero artificial flavors or preservatives. You get protein-packed formula with over 50% of the recipe comprised of third-party certified humane ButcherBox meat, plus functional ingredients like pre- and postbiotics to support your dog's vitality and digestion. I know that sounds like a lot, but the bottom line is your dogs are getting the nutrition and the value they need and honestly that they deserve. I know our home wouldn't be the same without Odie, our 100-pound golden retriever who thinks he's a 10-pound lap dog. He is not, but it gives us peace of mind knowing that we're giving him quality food instead of just that factory processed garbage from the store. And speaking of the store, no need to go. ButcherBox for Pets delivers their high-quality food right to your door. So head to butcherboxforpets.com/products and use promo code DAWGS, DAWGS, for 20% off your order. It's time for us dogs to give our dogs the nutrition they deserve.